The Cheeseboy 628 Show, starring Cheeseboy 628.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Cheeseboy 628 here today giving you a tier guide for UU Hail. But for now on I'm going to call it Theory Thursdays because 1, it's catchier, and 2, I kind of like the idea that it's more of theoretical as what could happen compared to a guide as that would say that's exactly what would happen. Basically think of music theory, how you understand like the principles of everything and how it all works together. Well, it's kind of like with Pokemon theory then, how everything works together and how there's tiers and how there's certain sets that work and then of course ones that don't, and just how they all incorporate with each other. So that's why I'm going to call it Theory Thursday. Nothing too crazy there. But anyway, I basically just took one of the suggestions on my last video and I just took a team that probably works best with the tier suggested. Feel free to suggest the same tier and same style over and over again, as I will definitely eventually get to it. I just thought I do have a Hail team in my back pocket and I might as well demonstrate what's going on with this team here. I was recommended by a good buddy of mine in these tier guides to talk more about what to prepare for compared to talking about this team in specifics as what to prepare for with this team. So I'll definitely involve that more. Hopefully in this video you guys can let me know if I incorporate more of the rest of the situation of UU in this. And finally, someone suggested in one of the more recent videos that there should be a segment where I rate people's teams. So like they'll submit their teams and I can look at it, analyze it, and see its weaknesses, see what it's good at, and etc. So tell me what you guys think about that if you want a segment like that in the future. I don't know, let me know in the comments. But anyway, finally let's get right into this team here. I've got a specially defensive Abomasnow, Life Orb, Sheer Force, Nidoking, Sashed Weavile, Life Orb, Regenerator, Mienshao, and kind of a lead Frostlass, although it's more defensive. It's just trying to get its spikes up as soon as possible. And finally, physically defensive Blastoise. Now let's talk about why this team is considered UU Hail. Well, for one, it has Abomasnow, and of course Abomasnow, Snow Warning, Automatic Hail. What's great about Hail is there's no other weather in competition with it in UU, but it definitely has some problems with it, which we'll get to later. Anyway, after you have Abomasnow, you're going to want Hail Abusers. Remember that Hail damages any Pokemon that's not part Ice, so I could argue that there's a bunch of pokes here that abuse Hail, such as Weavile and Frostlass automatically because they're both part Ice. And even though Weavile doesn't use Blizzard, using that 100% accuracy in the Hail, I would still argue that it abuses Hail because it doesn't get damaged by it, while there's a ton of pokes in the tier that do get damaged by it. Now, I would also argue that Nidoking abuses it because Blizzard is a thing that it can abuse, as that's a pretty strong ice move. With Sheer Force and Life Orb, it's going to do a ton of damage. And the rest of my team, Blastoise doesn't really abuse it, but neither does Mienshao, but they're both able to get recovery back from Regenerate with Mienshao and Lefties from Blastoise. Now, spinners in UU are huge. You're going to hear about this in the other part of the video, but rocks are just huge to a Hail team. They could basically make or break the team, so you're going to want a spinner to counter it. I could argue that defensive Hitmontop would be a good spinner as it does resist rocks, but I did pick Blastoise because Abomasnow and Blastoise have pretty good synergy when it comes to resisting each other's weaknesses. Now, you're also going to want a ton of Hail weakness counters. And what I mean by this is that Hail has 4 weaknesses, being Steel, Rock, Fire, and Fighting. And that's why this tier is so balanced with Hail, because there are a ton of those types in this tier. So what you want to do is have a counter to every single one. At least one move or one typing that resists those moves or is super effective to that typing. And finally, you're going to want very bulky walls. And yes, I underline very because you are going to want to take hits as much as possible. UU is the most aggressive tier in my opinion. Well, also Ubers I guess, but UU for actually controlled Pokemon not being like super strong legendaries is definitely the tier of pure aggression. you're going to want to take flare blitzes, earthquakes, you name it. You need to have walls that can take those hits. And physically defensive Blastoise can take flare blitzes, and Abomasnow can alright take earthquakes as well as Blastoise. But yeah, just be very careful for all the damage you have to be ready to receive. Now this team certainly has its weaknesses. Like I was saying earlier, you need counters to fire, fighting, rock, and steel. There are a ton of each of these typings in this tier, so you just need to be very careful that you deal with these accordingly. And like related to the typing of rock, Stealth Rock. You need to get those spun out of the way, you need to disable that Stealth Rocker as soon as possible. Taking damage from Stealth Rocks can be crucial when running a Hail team. Next, you have Hyper Offense. Honestly, Hyper Offense will probably destroy this team entirely. Just a Scarf Mienshow's high jump kick will pretty much destroy this team once Frostlass is gone, not being able to check it. Because even though you have Nidoking to resist, you're not going to have a fun time, and of course Weavile would just go right to its sash if it is intact after not taking any damage from Stealth Rocks. Once Blastoise and Abomasnow are gone from this team, you're just full of offense, basically with a defensive Frostlass that can't really touch anything, so you just have to be very careful as to managing your walls accordingly. Then next you have bulky sweepers, and I did put in parentheses water, because water is usually the kind of typing that is known for being bulky, and they're usually the setup kind. And one that I'm thinking of in specific is Suicune. Calm Mind Suicune can definitely potentially sweep a team, although it's not always too easy nowadays. And then finally we have Volturn. The thing is with Volturn, if you try to bring in your physical wall Blastoise on a Darmanitan and it U-turns out and it goes into, let's say, Rotom Heat, even though there's probably another electric type that you probably wouldn't want to share fire typing with anyway, but I'm just saying for example, and it comes in on your Blastoise and you have to switch out to Abomasnow, they could predict that with an overheat. The point is you have to be very careful with that, as your walls could go down very easily and it's just going to take prediction. That's all I can really suggest for that, because Hail is just extremely frail and you just have to be very careful when managing your pokes. So with that said, I definitely recommend trying Hail. It's pretty cool to scout what items other pokes are holding and just be very careful when using it. Try to have as balanced of a team as possible, as having all ice types and all being offensive is definitely not your way of winning. So go ahead and try it, and I hope you all enjoyed this Theory Thursday. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, sub, and until later, peace.